Think about someone you know. They're smart, they're interesting, they have a life, a real one. But scroll through their social media, and you'll find almost nothing. No selfies, no vacation photos, no "look what I'm eating" posts. Just silence. And here's what's strange. In a world where everyone is performing, where everyone is curating their highlight reel for strangers to applaud, these people chose to disappear. Now your first instinct might be, are they shy? Insecure? Hiding something? But psychology says something completely different. And by the end of this video, I promise you, you will never look at a quiet person online the same way again. Because what looks like absence is actually a statement. What looks like insecurity is actually one of the rarest forms of confidence. Let's decode it. Here's the world we live in right now. Platforms are designed, engineered, to make you want to post. Every like is a dopamine hit. Every comment is a small rush of validation. Every view count whispers to your brain, you matter. People see you. And most people, they fall for it. Not because they're weak, but because that's literally how these platforms were built. But then, there's a small group of people who look at all of this and quietly say, no thanks. They're not angry about it. They're not preaching about it. They just opt out. And psychology has a name for this pattern. It's called autonomy-based identity. These individuals don't need external validation to feel real. Their sense of self isn't tied to how many strangers double-tapped their face this morning. Odd. Research found that people who heavily tie their self-worth to social media feedback experience significantly higher rates of anxiety, loneliness, and depression. But the people who don't post, who stay private, they've already solved the equation most people are still struggling with. They know who they are, without the audience. And here's what makes that so rare. We live in a culture that confuses visibility with value. If you're not posting, people assume you don't have a life. But the truth is, Miwas, some people are too busy living their life to stop and photograph it for strangers. What? Let me ask you something honest. Why do you post photos online? Take a second. Really think about it. Is it to share a moment you love? Or is it, even a little bit, to be seen, to be admired, to make someone think your life is impressive? There's no shame in that answer. It's deeply human. But people who don't post have already had this conversation with themselves, and they've answered it differently. Psychologists call this high self-monitoring with internal referencing. Simply put, they check in with themselves before they check in with the world. They ask, why am I doing this? What am I actually looking for here? And when they realize the answer is approval from people I barely know, they stop. That level of self-awareness is genuinely rare. Research found that only 10 to 15% of people are truly self-aware, even though 95% think they are. That gap? That's where most social media behavior lives. The person who doesn't post? They're likely in that rare 10 to 15%. They're not performing for an audience, because they don't need one to feel certain about who they are. Here's something that might surprise you. The loudest person in the room is rarely the most confident one. Real confidence, the deep, quiet kind, doesn't need to announce itself. Think about it. When you're genuinely secure in something, you don't need to prove it constantly. A person who is truly at peace with their body doesn't need 20 mirror selfies for validation. A person who genuinely loves their relationship doesn't need to post about it every week to make it feel real. Psychologists call this secure attachment to self, a stable internal foundation that doesn't shake when the likes don't come. People with insecure attachment patterns, on the other hand, are far more likely to use social media for emotional regulation, posting when they feel low, seeking comments to feel better, measuring their worth in follower counts. The private person has quietly built something most people spend their whole lives searching for. A self that doesn't need an audience to exist. And that's not cold. That's not antisocial. That is one of the most emotionally intelligent ways a human being can exist in the digital age. Now let's talk about something that goes even deeper. There are two types of people in the digital world. The first type performs their life. Every experience is filtered through one question. How will this look? The sunset becomes content. The dinner becomes a story. The vacation becomes a gallery. And somewhere in all that performance, the actual experience gets lost. The second type absorbs their life. They're present, fully in the moment, not thinking about angles, captions, or which filter makes the sky pop. Studies using brain imaging have shown that when people plan to share an experience online, the areas of the brain associated with direct sensory enjoyment actually show reduced activity. In other words, you enjoy the moment less when you're thinking about how to post it. The people who stay private, they've protected something precious. They experience their life fully, not as content, but as memory, as feeling, as theirs. Now, here's a truth that social media doesn't want you to know. Every feed is a lie. Not intentionally, but structurally. People post their best moments, their best angles, their best days. Which means every time you scroll, you're comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. And your brain cannot tell the difference. The person who doesn't post is the one who's opted out of the illusion entirely. They've essentially built a psychological firewall between themselves and one of the most powerful manipulation systems ever created. That's not avoidance. That's wisdom. Let's bring this home with one final insight. The people who guard their image online are often the same people who have the clearest sense of their own identity. They understand that what you share publicly becomes public property, subject to judgment, misinterpretation, and opinions from people who don't know you. And they've made a conscious choice. My life is mine. My memories are mine. My face is not a brand. Emotional intelligence research consistently shows that people with strong personal boundaries report higher life satisfaction, lower stress, and more authentic relationships, URIs. Because they're not managing an online persona. They're just living. So the next time you see someone who never posts online, don't assume they have nothing to show. Maybe they have everything, and they've simply decided it belongs to them. The silence isn't emptiness. It's a choice, a deliberate, psychologically sophisticated choice, to live on their own terms, outside the algorithm, outside the approval cycle, outside the performance. And in a world drowning in noise, that kind of quiet takes real courage. Think about your own relationship with social media. Are you posting to share or to be seen? Are you living the moment or filming it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I genuinely want to know. And if this video made you see people or yourself a little differently, subscribe. Because on this channel, we don't just scroll through life. We decode it. See you in the next one.